economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview
Spinning
Radio
on Google too, Logan.
Brannon House.
And welcome. Glad you are with us. We are going to be joined by Patrick Wood and then Annie Cyrus. Let's get updates from those guys. I want to talk about the Gaza genocide by starvation a little bit more, because this is not holding water, but it is going viral. And even President Trump is talking about it. He's saying, well, the images on television. I'm like, do we want to trust the images on television? I don't think we do. How about some images that aren't showed on television, Logan? I wanted to show a couple myself and talk about them, but all I get is a spinning wheel of death. Yet I've rebooted the computer. I'm on, what do you call this? Fiber. I've tried Safari. I've tried Google Chrome. I don't know. But if we can get it, I have videos. And I don't think they're going to be showed on the media. So here's what I would say to President Trump. We're on Truth Social Plus, your network. Watch World YouTube, Mr. Trump, President Trump. And you say videos on TV you're seeing, well, I'll show you videos on TV. I'll show you videos right here on World YouTube that streams on Truth Plus. And I'll show you videos that the media are not showing you that will destroy this narrative that it's Israel that's starving these kids. Now, why is this important? Because we know that Hamas wants to take down America and take down Israel. Most Americans don't know this. If you were to ask most Americans, what is Hamas? They have no idea what Hamas is. I remember a guy, I won't say his name, a guy, if I said his name, all of you would know him. Every one of you would know him. Called me up a year or so ago and said, who's this Hezbollah guy? I said, it's not a guy. It's a terrorist organization. And this is the problem. Many of America's leaders don't even know what they should know about Hamas. If you ask the average, here's a little question to ask now that your members of the House and Senate are in the state for August recess, and it's not even August yet. Ask them, what can you tell me about Hamas? When did it start? Who started Hamas? And see what they say. I venture to guess most members of Congress could not tell you what year Hamas started and who started them. How are we going to defeat an enemy if we don't know who they are? Much less that they're here in America and they're operating in America. And don't we know that some of the leaders of Hamas, it's the video, huh? Every other video plays but that. I wonder, isn't that interesting? And the videos happen to be showing Hamas involved in taking the food and the aid. Don't you find that interesting that those are the videos that don't want to work, Logan? I find that highly suspicious. Here we're trying to play the videos to show the world who's really stealing the food, and those videos don't want to play. But everything else will play. Cat videos, dog videos. But anyway, you know that some of these guys with Hamas, we know that some of the leaders of these Islamic groups, they got training in propaganda from the Soviet Union. So they know very well how to engage in this war of propaganda and lies. And yet, apparently, many people are buying what they're seeing. And it doesn't hold water. All right, here's a video. This is a video, I'll explain it to the TV audience, that I don't think you're going to see. And what you got is a bunch of thugs and a bunch of Hamas and Islamic terrorists and troublemakers stealing the food, stealing the UN aid. I mean, we have these kind of videos all over the place. But we're going to blame Israel. In fact, Israel has called for a 10-hour-a-day ceasefire in order to help there to be food that gets dropped in by plane. Okay? But I'm one of the few people reporting this. Let's go to Patrick Wood on this and other things. Patrick and Lynn will be joined by Annie Cyrus. Patrick, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
What are your thoughts on what I've been saying here, Patrick?
I did the numbers myself. I'm so sick of hearing all the propaganda. This is propaganda, by the way. It's top to bottom, beginning to end propaganda. And we can recognize propaganda by analyzing the feed without respect to the subject material.
Yeah.
So this is a classic example of propaganda. This reminds me of what happened at the start of COVID, when everybody panicked and basically just spit back the lines that were given by the World Health Organization, our CDC, et cetera. All these people that were saying, "Oh my gosh, we're all going to die," and this is reminiscent of that period. Apparently, Americans have learned nothing about propaganda. Otherwise, they would not be buying this line in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, most of the media are circulating fake pictures that aren't even related to this war, or a child that has a medical condition that makes him look like he's starving, but has nothing to do with starvation. And Aaron told us yesterday when I brought it up, Israel's offered to help that little boy, but apparently they have rejected that information.
Yes.
Now, here we have Stormer, who is in my opinion, a horrible excuse for a man. I mean, why is it that so many of these politicians are just so feminine, yellow-bellied, weak? I mean, they're not people you would want to even have as your neighbor. They wouldn't even be a good neighbor. They're just people that just give you the willies. They make your skin crawl. Listening to them, watching them, they're just the epitome of weak, feminized men. Why are all these leaders like that? Stormer, Emmanuel Macron, I mean, go down the list. And now we have this little weakling, Stormer. He says he's going to recognize a Palestinian state if Israel doesn't take significant steps regarding Gaza. Is this guy have any concerns with the hostages that are starving? Can we talk about people that are starving? The hostages. We've seen the before and after pictures, Patrick. Why is no one talking about the hostages anymore?
That's amazing. You know, when you consider that the Bible says Israel will be a stumbling block to the whole world. This is exactly what's happened. And people are just racing after the story with no regard for the facts. And they're not talking about any other country that has genocide going on or mass starvation going on. They don't talk about all the African countries that are under significant duress right now. They don't mention that. This is partly because the United Nations has been linked up with Hamas for years.
Of course.
And of course, they're going to amplify the rhetoric that's being put out from Hamas in the first place. And I have to say, this is off topic for me. I don't, mostly I talk about technocracy. However, I have a strong opinion on this. The modern state of terrorism, by and large, does not use human shields as their defense. There's exceptions, obviously, especially with Hamas. But even in some, normally you won't see this in the open. However, Hamas has perfected this business of using civilians to shield their activities and their terrorism. For instance, they build tunnel networks under virtually, I think, every hospital in Gaza.
Yep.
And the terrorists hide out in these tunnels underneath the hospitals where people are getting care for whatever. And they thumb their nose at anybody and everybody. In some cases, they had fired missiles from those hospitals. And then when the hospital gets attacked by Israeli forces, the hospital gets destroyed, but also the tunnel network under the hospitals get destroyed as well. Mm-hmm. That's sad that the hospital has to be destroyed. But this is the state of the art for Hamas at this point, to use that kind of a technique to garner sympathy for the world. Well, they're destroying all of our hospitals. Of course, we can't get health care over here, and the people are dying from starvation and addition. This is such a disastrous attack, if you will, on civility. They have no regard whatsoever about the civilian population in Gaza. Israel has a lot of concern, I think, for the people who don't support Hamas, but these people are so scurrilous, they just don't care. They'll kill anybody in sight to get their message to the world.
Well, the lies that are going around, I mean, if you go to a few websites that I follow, where these are, I know who the people are, Israelis, and I know their level of education and what they do and their intelligence and their credibility. The number of lies that are circling online about, here's one. Israeli media reports that a female IDF soldier has taken her own life after being repeatedly raped by fellow soldiers at a military base near Gaza. Now, the people that are investigating this that I know and I trust are saying this is a total lie. It's a total lie. Then we have another video of some young Jewish guys vacationing somewhere, and they're lying about what those young men were up to. You cannot get out on social media without finding one lie after another targeting Jewish people. And yesterday when I interviewed Aaron, our reporter on the ground in Israel, he seemed more rattled than I've seen him. Not like I saw him on October 7th, obviously, and other times when missiles are coming in. But he said, it's really getting tough over here. It's really getting tough over here. And I said, why? And it's because of the global propaganda that is really ratcheted up, and it's being bought. It's being believed when we can discount so many of the stories, one after the other. That's a lie. That's not true. That's fake. That's not true. Are we saying Israel's perfect? No, we're not. But there are so many things that are being said that aren't true. Now, people say, Brandon, I don't care. Well, you should care. Because the people that are doing this are going to soon turn, if they're not already, and they are, they're going to turn it on you and me. And right now, folks, I want you to understand how quickly the life of Patrick Wood or the life of Brandon House could be destroyed by one lie after another made up on social media, of course, even now with AI. And how do you prove a negative? We'll be right back with Patrick's response.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You are watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brandon House.
All right, welcome back, Worldview Radio. Our website, worldviewradio.com. Hey, don't forget about our fall conference coming up. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. We're going to have a great lineup with Gordon Chang live in person, Alex Newman, all of them in the building. Gordon Chang, Alex Newman, Sidney Powell, Dr. Lana Hedia, Dr. Woods, Chris Martinson, Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen, myself. There's only 350 seats. So you're going to have a great opportunity to walk up and speak with us. Speak right there to the keynote speakers because there's only 350 people in the building. A beautiful, beautiful theater owned by our town of Collierville. It's a very nice community. If you ever come to Collierville, folks, you'll go away saying, what a beautiful town. Germantown, Collierville are gorgeous. And people do. They come to town, they're like, we really like this town. It's because it's really laid out well. They did a great job on the planning, the development. It's got a great police department. I'm friends with many of the people in the police department. It's just a nice community. So come on in, drive in. All the information is on the website. Get your tickets if you're interested. Where to stay is there as well. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Our foundation banquet with a little bit of music with our grand piano and piano player. I think we're adding in some strings this year. I said to my grand piano player, can you get some arrangements? Let's add some strings. So we're working on that. So I'll do a few numbers and then a keynote presentation by Hedia. The food's amazing. And there's no profit margin, folks, mixed into the ticket price. That's just what the meal costs because it's a beautiful ballroom and the food is amazing. This is at a restaurant that we've been eating at for years. We love it. The food's amazing. It's about every 2 weeks we go there to eat on a weekend. And we want to bring you there with us as well. So I hope you'll join us on that Thursday night, but that's optional. Otherwise, Friday night and Saturday, okay? Worldviewstore.com for full details. Worldviewstore.com. Joining me is Patrick Wood, and then we'll be joined by Annie Cyrus in a moment. Technocracy.news, technocracy.news. Patrick, I want you to comment on that before we move to another topic real quick. This is important because the same enemies of Israel are the same enemies of America, the red-green axis. And just as you see them making up lies and fake information to lie about Israel, they can do that to us individually as well. And the fact that people are so quick to fall for propaganda, let me tell you how careful we are here, Patrick. The story out of Ohio is a tragic story. I'm reporting on it tonight on the Worldview Report. We've seen the video of the white guy getting beat up. We've seen the video of the white lady being punched and knocked unconscious, right? It's horrific. But before I went running on that, with a narrative, to buy into a narrative, I have to ask myself, what are the facts? There's no facts that justify beating up the guy or the gal, unless it's self-defense, and I didn't see that. But I wasn't quick to run in and say, oh no, look at the racial tensions, a bunch of black folks beating up a bunch of white folks. I'm like, I'm not falling for this because I want to know the facts. Then we'll report on it. Last night, I didn't report on what was happening in New York. It's tragic. But generally, the first reports are false. Generally, there's nothing but speculation, and we wait for things to play out, then we report. Unless it's something really big, we don't run for every breaking news story because let the facts play out because you're just going to get something wrong. And that story in Ohio is wrong. It's tragic to see what happened. But here's what I want to know, because I'm fair. I want to know, was there alcohol involved? Who was drinking? Who was drunk? And did someone spout racial slurs? Now, I don't care what they said. It doesn't justify a beatdown. I'm not saying it does. But what I am saying is you need all the facts. And if there were racial slurs that were thrown that caused this, you could say, well, maybe you shouldn't go out there and be intoxicated and throw racial slurs. Now, that doesn't justify you getting a beatdown. But if you did that, that brings context. I'm not saying that happened. But there are some news reports out there that there were words exchanged. And I want to know what the words are that were exchanged that would have invoked that. Because then we can weigh it like a jury would and say, that's wrong. But folks, maybe don't go out and act stupid. Okay, don't say things. Don't be drinking. But, dumb people that go out and drink and get intoxicated or a little tight or buzzed or whatever they want to call it. That's where a lot of bad stuff happens. And I'm not saying that's what happened here because I don't know, but I'm waiting for all the facts to come in, right? That's because we're fair. We have no agenda. And the last thing I want to do is jump on a white, black propaganda narrative to divide the country. I want all the facts first. So I've been very careful. And that's the way we should be. But I don't see Americans being like that. I see Americans grabbing these pictures, and even this lady called in yesterday, Trina, and I'm glad she called in, horrified that we would even question this. Well, that's the problem. We don't question enough so that we aren't falling for news stories the media uses. Look how the news media used George Floyd. That's a perfect example. Look how they used George Floyd, right? And it won't be long, folks, before the news stories are about leading Christians and conservatives. And watch how many people don't have the ability of critical thinking to say, do we have all the facts here? No, because you've been conditioned to respond emotionally. True or false, Patrick?
Absolutely true. Let me give you some numbers on starvation worldwide and also in Gaza. I had to get the facts on this because I didn't know. And I thought, well, they say, I read an article that said 15,000 people, children, were at risk of starvation, dying on the spot in 48 hours if they didn't get food. Well, that's not even plausible. But in 48 hours, there's that close to death already? Well, I investigated, and I found out that in Gaza, this is checking the death records. That, of course, that could be skewed a little bit because maybe that they're not telling the whole truth. But nevertheless, the death records in Gaza itself recorded 0.48 deaths per 100,000 in 2024. In 2025, they're reporting 6.2 deaths per 100,000. Okay. And well, how does that compare with the whole world? Well, worldwide, this is amazing, but worldwide, there have been consistently 11 deaths per 100,000 people, 11 worldwide, and that includes industrial countries as well as African countries. So where's all this starvation happening and all these deaths happening in Gaza? It's not happening. The statistics simply do not bear it out. You have, in fact, I think I sent you the World Population Review website that has all the nations of the world in a map. You can click on that map and see what any nation is experiencing on deaths, especially from starvation. So this whole narrative, this saying, oh, it's over the top, all these children are dying, and I grieve anytime a child dies. That's not the point here. The point is they're not anywhere close to any record in the world for starving children, not even close. In fact, it's lower than many other countries in the world. Nobody wants to talk about them, but they'll talk about Israel.
Yep.
You see, this is the hypocrisy of the whole thing. Israel has become a stumbling block to the whole world at this point.
And isn't that what the Bible says is coming?
Yes, it does.
And I'm just looking at the World Population Review for those who want to go see what he's referring to. worldpopulationreview.com. Okay? And you can see it all. worldpopulationreview.com. All right, let me have you switch real quick to technocracy. What's the latest big story you're following there with AI data centers, et cetera, et cetera?
Wow. Well, we just talked today about. Let me pull up my website here. We just talked today about Sam Altman, his plans on seeing 1 million GPUs by the end of 2025, and we talked about the housing necessary or the buildings necessary to do that. We talked about the energy, et cetera, et cetera. And there's obviously a bubble brewing at this point over all of this AI spending. They're spending almost trillions of dollars in the next 2 years at least. And if this whole thing pops at some point, it's going to be so devastating to America.
Did you see my interview last night with Ed Dowd?
I did, as a matter of fact.
And he thinks we're in a bubble with AI. Like it's going to be like a .com bubble, but it's going to be an AI bubble. Yes,
and this is going to be much worse because the .com bubble only affected some e-commerce sites and Silicon Valley, San Francisco in particular. But now with AI embedded in our government, top to bottom, it's embedded in society. Companies are using it nilly-willy everywhere in the world. And if the bubble pops and the plans are scattered and the development teams are scattered to the wind, what's going to happen to all these companies and governments who are depending on the AI at that point? This is not anything like that bubble that happened around 2000.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting because things look like they're really, really speeding up toward Bible prophecy, right?
Yes.
To a point where you're like, whoa, it's going so fast. And then things like this happen that make me think, but maybe something's going to happen and the Lord's going to slow it down. And we'll be here another 5-10 years. I mean, I'm ready to go now, but I mean, I'd like to go now. But, you know, I'm thinking to myself last night, I was standing last night watering some trees. It's so hot here in the Mid-South, and I was watering some trees in the yard, and I was thinking to myself, because I had this interview with Ed Dowd, it got me to thinking. I thought, no, I want to go now, but I guess it could be a few more years because all these things that seem to be accelerating could actually be slowed down with a pop of AI, right? I mean,
it could.
And it doesn't mean that there couldn't be the rapture of the church, and then... Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I even asked Dr. Woods the other night, I said, how long could the tribulation be from the rapture to the start of the tribulation? He said, well, I think it'll be a few weeks to a few months, the start of the tribulation. We got to have a peace treaty signed and all that and confirmed. Mm-hmm. But he said, you know, the older guys years ago, some that are gone, some of them taught that the rapture could occur and there would be a 50-year gap between the rapture of the church and the start of the tribulation. And that was because they needed to see Babylon and stuff being rebuilt, and they didn't see it happening. I don't see a gap, but that doesn't mean there can't be a gap. What are your thoughts on that real quick?
I think there could be a small gap, but certainly not 50 years.
Yeah, I don't see that.
No way.
Me neither.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you to come back, then we go to Annie. What do you think the an AI bubble pop would mean for America, for these companies and the country? And where do you see us on the prophetic timetable? Then Annie Cyrus, you don't want to miss that.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house, very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. All All right, so welcome back. Worldview Radio website, worldviewradio.com. Patrick, before we go to Annie Cyrus, what would a AI bubble pop mean for the economy, for the country, for where we're at on God's timetable here of the mark of the beast system and everything?
I think it would be catastrophic for many businesses and government organizations to be interrupted from using their AI because it's infiltrated into business processes and other things like in government at this point. The employees have been replaced by AI. And if you rip that away from those organizations, they'd be devastated. You just can't go and find new people to hire and et cetera. It'll be very disruptive for society if it really gets hit. And remember also that all these people who are on high salaries, the programmers of AI, these people will not be able to maintain their salaries. So there's going to be a large jumping ship, if you will, for all these programmers to find other work. Maybe they will, but nevertheless, the teams that are building AI right now, you're not going to see them together again. So what happens then about AI safety and fixing things that need to be fixed, et cetera? And if there's not people watching the whole thing, that's not a good thing either.
And how could that catastrophe be used and exploited? You can't let a good crisis go to waste. How could that be used and exploited?
Exactly. Who knows? At this point, what happened during the .com bubble, there was a huge drop in the stock market for one thing that really got people's attention, and otherwise the mass unemployment in Silicon Valley, that was a stunning thing as well. This probably could be repeated if AI really tanks.
Well, they do seem to be moving awfully fast. Here in the Mid-South, we got Grok, X, what is it called? X, AI, Elon, and then $10 billion Google data center announced right over the river. So,
yes.
All right.
They're spending billions of dollars, nilly-willy, really, to erect this system that wants to capture everything in the world. And so maybe they're going to be successful. Maybe they have enough money to do it, and they just don't care. But when somebody like Sam Altman says, well, $200 billion is nothing to us, we'll just go ahead and do that. Or Meta, same thing, that, $500 billion, no problem. Well, there's a limit to how much money you can spend.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
care. Yeah.
Technocracy.news to pick it all up. Technocracy.news. And of course, we carry Technocracy News with Logan and Patrick every week at worldviewtube.com. Technocracy.news to read more. Patrick, thanks for being with us.
You bet. Thank you.
Patrick Wood checking in, technocracy.news. Before I go to Annie Cyrus, here's an interesting story. It's a sickening story. Dozens sickened after eating THC-contaminated food at Wisconsin pizzeria, CDC says. Dozens of people were accidentally dosed with THC, the primary psychoactive compound in cannabis, after consuming food served by a pizzeria in Wisconsin, the CDC reported. I guess this is in, how do you say it, Dalton, Wisconsin? It's located in a building with a shared kitchen used by a state licensed vendor who produced edible THC product. Well, wouldn't that be a no-no? Then again, we're talking about government people that approve this. While preparing food in October of 2024, the pizzeria ran out of cooking oil and used what employees believe was plain canola oil from the shared kitchen, the CDC said. In reality, they used a THC-infused oil to prepare dough for what was used in pizza, garlic bread, and cheese bread, and some sandwiches. The contaminated food was sold between October 22nd and October 24th. Madison and Dane County public health officials said at the time. Officials became aware of the situation when emergency rooms reported taking 7 people to local hospitals, emergency services. for symptoms including dizziness, sleepiness, and anxiety. All 7 people reported eating food from the pizzeria. Wow. Sneezed. Officials became aware of the situation. Okay, we got that. All 7 people reported eating food from the pizzeria. 1 person reported receiving a positive THC test result without having knowingly consumed a substance. Well, let me tell you something. If that happened to me, that business would be out of business because of the lawsuit I would bring. I don't drink. I don't like to drink. Alcohol destroys lives. You know, everybody's free to do what they want. But one reason I don't drink is because I like being in control. And if I found out that I'd been given this and I was not in control because I was high, I would be, not to mention, again, some people, they would react horrifically to have panic attacks and everything else because you're like, you feel so weird. I've never done pot, never smoked pot, never done pot. And I don't want to do it. And if I found out it was fed to me, I mean, I don't know how this place survives. But I think who you ought to sue is the state government. But of course, the state governments are usually immune. If it's really true that this was approved by the state, allows these 2 groups to share a kitchen, worthless. Governments, by and large, today are worthless. Absolutely worthless. But that's part of God's judgment, to be honest with you. Let's go to Annie. Annie Cyrus joins us today. Hello, Annie. How are you?
Hi, Brennan. I'm just asking questions as I get through the day. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. There's so much news to talk about. So much. You just bookmarked a tweet, did you, Logan? All right, so let me go there and I'll see what Logan's bookmarked. Is it related to what I just shared? Okay, breaking. Benjamin Netanyahu says United States has authorized Israel to annex parts of Gaza. That's according to Con News. Benjamin Netanyahu says the United States has authorized Israel to annex parts of Gaza. Let me ask you about that. You want to respond to that real quick, Annie, before we move on? What do you make of that?
Can you tell me what happened? I heard Netanyahu broke a news, but I didn't hear what the news is. I'm sorry.
He says, Benjamin Netanyahu says the United States has authorized Israel to annex parts of Gaza, to grab it, annex it.
Is it confirmed?
Oh, that's according to KAN News, Can News.
I would be shocked if you have me back on again. If United States would authorize, well, I guess I'm confused. Why is the authorization pending on United States of America, anyways?
And
do we own that area?
Yeah, can I say thank you to that? That is such a great question. Yep. And by the way, while I'm looking at this news, I'm seeing a video of you, an ex-Muslim child bride, who escaped Iran, is now risking everything to warn the American people. There's a video of you that's popping up in our feed here. So I don't know why is Israel allowing America? I mean, I was complaining about this during the Biden regime. Why is Israel so willing to be led around by America? I thought the Jews were in charge. I mean, isn't that what we're told? The Jews run everything. The Jews run everything. Yeah. That's what we're told. And yet here they are waiting on permission from America. So isn't that completely opposite of the narrative that all the anti-Semites spout?
It is. It is so amazing. I've been complaining about the same thing over and over. Why? I don't know how many times I've said, why does Israel answer the phone when U.S. calls for asking for ceasefire? Like, stop answering the phone. They don't. Like, as an American, I'm telling you, we have we don't own Middle East. We just own America. That's it, basically, and a couple of other areas. Okay, but I don't know. I guess anti-Semites need to start realizing in action, United States of America has played way more major roles of what has happened in Middle East specifically than Israel ever has. And every time they're trying to make a good impact, actually, they're called to their corner and timeout and ceasefire.
Yeah. And now in 48 hours, Israel is expected to make a critical decision. If Hamas refuses to release the hostages and surrender, Israel may move to officially and permanently annex parts of the Gaza Strip. In other words, take the land and never give it back. Well, I thought that was already decided. I mean,
Well,
that's what
I
would
thought
do.
this should have been done back in February. Oh, no, wait. Since February until today, we were waiting for U.S. to negotiate with Hamas to release hostages. I forgot all about that part.
Wow. All right. We'll see where this goes. All right. Talk to me about some of your concerns. You said on my show, 2-3 weeks ago, that was it Muslim observance was going to come to an end on Sunday night, or was it Monday night, Sunday night?
Yes, a month, the Islamic calendar month would be come to an end. Well, when I talked to you, I said 28 to 30 days from June 27th, but it basically ended on Saturday eve of our time zone.
Mm-hmm. And you said then start watching for terrorist attacks to start then. Now, have we had any? Because you and I were talking last night, and I don't know if we've had any terrorist attacks. That's what I'm going to let you answer. But we sure have had an awful lot of shootings that seem to be going unreported. We have the ones that are reported. What are you hearing?
So two things. I just want to make sure we're very accurate. The second thing I said we could expect to start happening was round 2 of Iran-Israel war. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because literally as of Sunday, the IRGC, one of the generals came out and publicly said, we're ready for round 2. They already announced it. They regrouped whatever they needed to do. But on Sunday, the IRGC general came out saying, we are ready for whatever comes next in any form of war with Israel, either through our proxies or like the 12 days, we're ready to give them harsher answers. And right after that, actually, on Monday, the meeting between Iran and the 3 European countries in Istanbul, Turkey, ended up with basically agreement to no agreement, meaning they're going to continue their enrichment. Sorry, that was just the insert there. Okay, jihad. Yes. Since Friday until this morning, Brandon, we have faced 19 shootings across. This is only 3 states and 4 cities. 19 shootings. As of now, 11 or 12 people killed, over 45 people injured. None of the attacks, none of the events answered by their police department or FBI or even proper investigation into. I'm at a point where I'm doing my own investigation, Brandon, to figure this out. Like I have a whiteboard in my office where I'm putting pictures up and connecting dots, because I promise you they are not going to call. Even if they have the proof in their hands, they're not going to name it unless on camera somebody caught them screaming Allahu Akbar.
Mm-hmm. So you believe that it's very possible some of these shootings are jihad. Now, you remember Sarah Adams was warning several months ago, former CIA gal, of 5 or 6 members, 5 or 6 people on a team that would go out and do shootings. And you warned about that now. We have warned about it, of course, going back to 2008, these teams attacking schools like they did in Beslan. So let's come back and talk about that. And the fact that the media and the police are so reluctant to release names quickly or motives. Why? Other times they have it solved in 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
And welcome back. Glad you're with us. We've got video footage. It's out there, but you don't count on the corporate media to play it. We got video footage of Hamas stealing aid trucks, flying through the streets there in Gaza, just barreling through the streets at a high speed with soldiers on board, where they have hijacked, stolen aid. And they're firing at civilians who try to stop them. But it's Israel's fault. Now, Annie, we're also hearing about, another breaking news story right now. Bronx neighborhood on lockdown after man seen walking with gun less than 24 hours after deadly New York City shooting. And he looks like he's walking around with an AR-15 or something, so I don't know where that's going. But the police, we don't want to release the name. It's still an investigation. We have no motive. But, the guy could drive a camper, an RV, what was it, Christmas Day, several years ago now, into downtown Nashville, blow up a whole street. And they had it wrapped up within 24 hours. They had a manifesto, they had a motive, they had the man, everything. All clean, nothing to see here done. But then these people come out and do these things, and we have to wait for days. And usually when that happens, I'm like, I think they probably know it's an Islamic Jihad attack. They don't want to say. What are your thoughts?
Well, lately, more specific, yesterday event, I've been following it pretty closely. And I don't know if you heard or not, but now apparently we have a letter left behind by the shooter.
Yes.
And I proposed a couple of questions this morning, Brandon. So this was about neck injury and NFL. Why did he have to drive all the way from Nevada to New York? They have offices in California where he played and got injured.
Well, if he's got such a neck injury, why would he want to drive that far?
Exactly. And then also, if somebody's going to do a symbolic self-harm or kill or suicide, whatever the term is, why is he wearing body armor, high grade, high quality exactly? Why? And why would he walk into a building? Specifically, one of the 4 killed is the executive of Blackstone, the very name that was targeted by a pro-Palestinian on the Bring Intifada to New York banner.
Can you repeat that so everybody just catches what you just said?
Yes. Okay. So 4 people were killed, not including the shooter. One of the people who died was a police officer, technically off duty, but police officer. The second person was the security guard of the building. The third person was a woman who was an executive of Blackstone, which has been put on a map as a specific target by a pro-Palestinian group under their slogan of bringing Antifa to New York about 4 or 5 days before the shooting happened. And then after that, the 4th person was another person in the lobby of the 33rd or 34th floor after that shooter goes and supposedly shoot himself. This was about a neck injury and NFL, but the only office he didn't walk into was NFL. And with a neck injury, he was able, as you said, to do such a long drive and carry such a heavy weapon while walking with purpose, as they said on mainstream media, that distance into a building. He had this all planned out, but he took the wrong elevator. I don't know. My conclusion as an investigative journalist is closer to reality based on the bodies we have on our hand than what they're trying to sell us.
So you're leaning toward the fact, well, obviously it was a terrorist attack, regardless of the ideology behind it, but you're leaning toward the fact you believe that more and more of these are actually jihad.
Yes, and here's another reason. I did a really deep dive, and Brandon, you know, in real life, when I start digging on somebody, I can find a lot of them.
Yes, you can.
This man is a ghost. After his high school book year,
yearbook,
yearbook, there is nothing out there. Nothing. clean, no online trace, perfectly trained on doing what he's doing, getting a map and knowing how to get into that building, where to go, how to target whom. And again, I'll go back. What did he do? He went, barricaded himself, took off his body armor, and then shot himself in the chest? How? Why? I mean, if not trying to promote any ideas here on air, but there are other ways. We have another very different two sides of aisle story of somebody who supposedly committed suicide by shooting themselves in the chest. Remember, Brandon?
Yes.
The first question was, why not the head? Why not the mouth? Why not the neck? The same thing.
Well,
I don't even, and here's the thing, the first reports started with he was neutralized. Then it changed into he committed suicide. No, I really think the first story was correct. But then they had to cover it up. Oh, no, this was a mental illness due to the body injury, hatred toward NFL. Nothing to see here. Go home.
so what is your warning in the last 60 seconds for the music?
My warning is it's pay attention to details. Do not buy into the narrative. If you don't know how to do your own investigation, just follow some of the pages, some of the people who've been telling truth, and watch as they put evidence out there. Do not trust anyone who's just telling you this was another random Americans being Americans and move on. Do not let them deceive you.
And the by the way, the individual, he had a concealed carry permit, we're told, right? But how would you get that if you had mental illness?
Such a record of mental illness that immediately Nevada police contacts New York to tell them that we have the entire record in front of us.
But yet he's got a concealed carry permit and it supposedly worked as a security guard, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't smell right, does it?
No, my very initial post about it was something is not setting right.
No. But then again, we never found out much about what happened in the Las Vegas hotel shooting when they killed all those people at that country music concert. The guy that blew up, one of Elon's cars. What do you call those cars? Tesla in Vegas. I mean, so many of these stories, they just go away in the fast news cycle, and none of them smelled right. You know, even family members are like, something's not right here. People better keep their head on a swivel and pay attention. Of course, Annie Cyrus is at liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com, and liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Stay tuned for Crosstalk, folks. Thanks for listening. Take care. And we're back with Annie and WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and you here at Worldview Tube. Annie, how many, there's a lot of folks that are concerned about what they see as growing racial tensions with these videos that we're seeing out of Cincinnati. Of course, it doesn't help, and other ones. But I'm careful to try to warn people, look, don't make this a black-white thing. Because, yeah, there's reverse racism, or whatever you want to call it. But we have to remember that a lot of these folks that have gone to prison have been converted to Islam. So it may not be the color of their skin and some kind of black liberation theology or Black Panther militantism. It could be they've converted to Islam, and the average people want to make it out to be a heating up race war. When I'm going, well, that could be, but my first question would be, did they do time in prison? Have they done time in jail? Do they go to a mosque? Just because they're a black American, don't immediately assume that they are just, interested in taking out, a white guy. It could have nothing to do with the person's skin color, either side. It could totally be related to their conversion to Islam. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Someone commented on my Facebook post last night saying, why don't you wait until all the facts are out? And of course, my response was, when will that be? Because I'm personally still waiting after almost 10 years to see Epstein killed himself or not. I haven't received the facts to answer that question.
And how long did he kill himself? How long has that been already now?
It's been about 10 years. No, sorry, 9. Hold on. 29. 8 years.
Yeah. And I mentioned the hotel shooting at the country, shooting all those people down on the ground at that country concert. Where's that? That was multiple people reporting multiple shooters on the ground, chasing them.
That's the thing, to wait for facts to come out is, well, we might as well give it up. But they came back with, this seemed to be nothing except just some, about NFL and football. The guy is American Japanese. And my response was, so you're telling me we don't have Muslim Japanese? Because right now we have Muslim everything. There is no race when it comes to Islam. That's why we're not racist when we criticize Islam. They are converting at every level in every country. I have literally extensively have done writing on they are infiltrating through conversion in so many different ways. They walk up to people who are angry and tell them, hey, we got this religion that helps you with your anger because it will allow you to unleash your anger on people. The hatred can be publicized and there is no punishment for it. So yes.
Tell me real quick, Annie, about the guy that was screaming Allah Akbar on a plane the other day, claimed he had an explosive or something.
Yes, there was a video of a guy who was. I don't have enough information. Again, facts aren't out yet, but just from the accent, he sounded more on Indian Bangladeshi side of accents. But he was screaming, "There is a bomb in the plane! There is a bomb in the plane! Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar!" Which then two citizens or two passengers actually tackled him, and seemed like there was no bomb. And again, this is what I refer to as these are coordinated tests. Every single thing we're looking at, Brandon, this is what's going to build up to something bigger. And again, this isn't me just guessing. They have the pattern. Every single time they attacked us in any country, in any form, they practiced, they did the test, they collected data ahead of time. If you remember yesterday when we were talking, I said my feeling is this was a test for him to walk on the street with that weapon, looking the way he did, walking to see how long until the police is going to get there, how long until FBI gets there. They are collecting data. They've done it before, and I think they're still doing it. The same thing with the video of the guy screaming, "There's a bomb in the plane, Allahu Akbar," again, collecting data. And on one hand, it's great that we have social media and technology to get this information out. But on the other hand, remember, those who are collecting data are looking at the same video, calculating the same data I am for a different purpose.
So people better be on high alert because, again, you, Sarah Adams, and many others think something's coming in 2025. You still feel that way?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. Be vigilant, be alert, but most importantly, be very well educated on the topic. If you see it faster than somebody else, you have some extra seconds to think faster as far as what the solution is right now. Because if you don't know what you're looking at, then well, it makes a huge difference in situations such as jihad attack. Every second counts. So be educated, watch their pattern, study their past attacks, and learn about them.
LiveUpToFreedom.com, LiveUpToFreedom.substack.com, LiveUpToFreedom.com, and LiveUpToFreedom.substack.com. And if you want to get some of her beautiful handmade art, chess, dominoes, other great things for your home as well, LUTFstudio.com, LUTF Studio, acronym for Live Up to Freedom, right? LUTFstudio.com. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, folks. Take care.
Colonel Rob Manus has a lifelong